little video from the garage here. This is one of the things I did to dry parts that have been painted. I don't have a lot of room to put things, and I don't want dust gathering on things, but I want airflow to dry them. So I've just got your basic plastic bin, same type bins I keep filament in, because they have this blue seal that makes them probably not airtight, but a lot better than just a lid that doesn't have that seal. And then I use these, just a couple pieces of angle cardboard. You get these sometimes when you buy, furniture or something. I think these were from a pinball machine, but just gives it a little bit of lift so that there's a roof over the top of the painted parts, but there's still a gap for airflow. And while I'm in here, I painted the doors and just wanted to show how I masked off the back. Prior video, I had the back painted gray. So what I did was I cut a piece of cardboard a little bit smaller than the raised area on the back of the part. I used Tamiya masking tape, yellow masking tape, to mask it off, and then dropped the piece of cardboard in there and folded the tape over so white paint wouldn't get underneath it. I probably should have removed the tape when it was wet, but this paint is so sticky, tacky, gooey when it's wet. I didn't want to mess with it, so what I'll do is I'll take an X-Acto knife with a new blade and I'll run it along the edge of the tape, and I'll take that back piece off. The way I ended up painting it was putting it with a piece of a 2x4 on each long end with nothing in the middle, and then I painted these inside bits white, and then I carefully flipped it over and painted the front. So that way I got both the inside and the outside painted at the same time. And you can see I did both bread pan doors and the, keep forgetting the name of that, data door. The one with all the cool blinky lights behind it. So that was one thing I did regarding painting, and don't mean to make anyone seasick. Here's another one. Here are octoports on a stick. Now, why in the heck did I do that? Well, these have all kind of interior angles, and I figured I didn't have much confidence in my ability to get a smooth, nice coat of paint on it by taking the spray can and kind of going around in a circle with these things just sitting on a piece of wood. So I just drilled a couple holes that match the mounting holes on this octoport, put some bolts in. Yes, I used tape to cover the bolts so they wouldn't get paint on them, which you may be thinking, well, bolts are only fractions of a cent each, but yeah, that's what you tell yourself until you realize, oh, those couple bolts that I threw away because I got paint on them, I wish I didn't, because I need one or two of those and I threw a couple away. So I just threw some tape over both ends of the bolts so I can take the tape off and reclaim the bolts. But yeah, it worked out really nice. Just held on to it down there where my hand wouldn't get spray paint on it. Normally when I have done this in the past, I've used gloves, latex gloves, but I'm out of them, so I just held it far enough down that I wasn't getting spray paint on me. And I was able to maneuver this thing in all kinds of different angles so that I could then, in the other hand, hold the spray can in a comfortable position instead of having the spray can uncomfortably moving around in circles trying to get the paint in there, which also, if it was laying down, then your only shot would be paint going straight down. It would be hitting the board, possibly bouncing back. So being able to hold it, I could spray from this side and spray from the other side, just trying to get the most even coat possible around the entire piece. And I haven't actually picked them up and looked at them since I did the clear coat, but I think they're going to be absolutely fine. So I'm happy with that. In the other room, I've got the interior pieces completely finished that go, this is actually the outward facing, and so the pieces that go behind I have completely finished. They're ready to go in. Due to the paint in here, I think they might be a bit too thick, so it's going to be a little bit of a careful operation, I guess, to try and get them to fit up in here, because they go, if you can see this notch into the piece, the two pieces that go up in here, they don't sit flush with this base. They actually go up into that notch, so they're actually inset into this, the thickness of the part. So that might be a challenge. And then the other thing I'm working on are the power couplers. This was printed in, I think, 2020, and just started working on it last week. What I did was, it was printed in 0.2 quality, so it was really nice printed part. But I used 220 grit sandpaper with various sized tools to get the sandpaper into these recesses to get the 0.2 millimeter layer line sanded down even more. And then I did a couple coats of primer, and then just today I went with 400 grit all the way around it to see how smooth it was, and it's pretty darn good. Way back then, I didn't even know about hiding seams. So both power couplers, one goes in the front, one goes in the back, had a bit of seam down here, and of course it goes in this direction, so that's right where it's going to be visible. So I used a file to get rid of the seam lines, basically bumpy lines that were in there. So hopefully I didn't leave any pronounced, but I think I went a little too deep, which is what you want to do, because then you can put some filler in there and sand it smooth. So that should be fine. And after that dries, sand it, see what it looks like. It's probably going to be okay. And then it's ready for a second coat of primer. There is blue tape in these triangle pieces, so there's no paint getting in there, because there are blue painted pieces that glue in there. And I've said it before, I'd like to have glue, gluing plastic to plastic instead of gluing onto paint. The washer that goes around here, or washer type piece that is also painted blue, I've done that. And what I'll do after I'm done with the painting of this silver, I'll be sanding this area all the way down to bare plastic so that I can put that blue washer and adhere it there. And then, as I've said before, there's a piece that goes in the back that's already printed in blue with a crosshatch, and it goes glued in there. So you've got blue accents in the bottom, blue accents in these triangle pieces, and a blue round washer that goes just around this lip. So this is the front piece. I just sanded the back power coupler, and it's sitting in my house just kind of drying, because I just rinsed it off and went over it with a paper towel to get as much of the sanding dust out of the layer lines as I could before I prime it. And last thing is this test piece. And yeah, the light in here is just garage light, but I heard people saying that the Duplicolor Sonic Blue Pearl, if you paint metallic silver first and then you put that blue paint over the top of it, it makes it more, I guess, more of the like metallic sparkles show. And I wasn't so sure of that. So I actually use this ankle. You can see it, the lower part there. That wasn't flat enough. That didn't stick to the support properly when I printed this. And so I reprinted it because it should be a definite rectangle. So I had primed it and got it ready for paint, so I decided to use it as a test piece. And I should have had a piece of blue tape up here after I did the silver, but there's silver that goes to about here. You can kind of see a line, although that's not really the tape line. That's also because the Duplicolor paint, the nozzle, is let me sit down here, is not a round kind of a cone spray. It's a line type spray. You can adjust it on the nozzle so it'll be a line in whatever direction you want, but the paint comes out as kind of a line. Because this was a test print, I didn't do, as many light coats as I should have. I kind of did a couple heavy like this, so it did affect the test a little bit by making, you could see it good at this angle. This really dark line is in the silver painted part, and this really dark line is in the part that's just the blue paint sprayed on the primer. So this is something I recommend everybody does. I didn't. So another example of do what I say, not what I do. I didn't really test this early on like I should have to see if I like the results better with the silver paint or without. So what I have here is an example where I sprayed the metallic silver first and let it dry for a week. I had a piece of tape. You might be able to see the tape line right here. Oh, there you can see it really good. So I had a piece of blue tape over here. So this was all silver. This was just left primer. And I might have had another piece of tape. I think, well, maybe I didn't have another piece of tape over here. Doesn't matter. So you had just primer, you had metallic silver. I let that metallic silver dry for a week. Then I came back with the Duplicolor blue, and like I said, I was not like full on trying to get a quality job. You can see my thumbprint. I was just holding on to it here, getting paint on my thumb. That's kind of why I didn't just put it down and go left and right. I wanted to leave this covered so you could see that it started primer, and then I meant to leave a bit of the metallic silver covered so that you could see the metallic silver. But the results to me, maybe with silver it looks a bit better, just maybe a tiny bit. To me, it's not enough to bother doing that anymore. It really to me, like I said, I kind of botched the experiment a little bit by getting that really thick line pretty much about where the tape stripe is, and another thicker line of the paint there, because this paint is transparent, right? It's a Sonic Blue Pearl. It's pearlescent, so you can see behind it. But I tend to put the paint on so much just to get what I think is an even coat of actual blue, as opposed to up near the top where you can see where it's feathered in a really light blue. That might be why I don't think it makes much of a difference. Maybe other people aren't putting as much paint on as I am. But that's why I suggest trying this yourself and deciding yourself before you spend all the time I did. Quite a few parts where I painted the silver first and then the blue, and some of them had to paint the whole thing silver and then mask off the silver and paint the blue, and it just seemed like I could have saved some time by not doing a silver undercoat, and nobody really would have known the difference, in my opinion, just from looking at this. And, you know, it kind of also depends on the angle. That angle right there, the right-hand side that's just on the primer, looks to me kind of nicer than the left. Right there, they almost look pretty much identical. Again, that tape line, that darker line that's right on that tape line is just from me putting on too much paint. And if you can see the tape line right there in the glare of the light, but if I do that to get rid of it, it's like I can't even really tell a difference. So your mileage may vary, your paints may vary. You may have a paint that isn't even compatible and it ends up bubbling. Oh, there's also a clear coat. There's a satin clear coat on top of this, because I do a satin clear coat 10 minutes after I do the blue. It's a Pacific Northwest. Even in nice weather, sometimes we have too much humidity, and with this blue paint and high humidity, it will fog. So you'll spray the paint on, it looks really nice and blue, and you put it down, and you come back 10 minutes later, and it's starting to get all hazy, like a fog, and that's due to humidity. And if you take a clear coat, which in my case I'm doing satin, you can do gloss, whatever way you want your final paint to turn out. Spray that clear over it, and the fogginess goes away. So this is, yeah, silver, blue, and satin clear, and the other side is just the primer and the blue and satin clear. The paints I'm using, Rust-Oleum Automotive Primer 2-in-1 Filler and Sandable is my go-to primer. Rust-Oleum Bright Coat Metallic Finish is my silver color, which I'm almost out of. And then I use the Rust-Oleum 2X Satin Clear to go over the blue parts. And of course the blue parts, I'm using the Sonic Blue Pearl from Duplicolor. For my whites, I'm using Rust-Oleum Satin White. This stuff, people have mentioned it before, this stuff is pretty crappy. It comes out pretty darn thick. It likes to run. Yeah. It's not the best paint. People like this stuff, but the nozzle on it, the way it's a straight line, gives me issues. Some people like it. I tend to have a really hard time getting it to have a nice even coat. Part of that's also because it is a pearl. It tends to go on light, and I want my blue kind of dark, and I end up putting too much on at once, and I get runs, but that's just because I'm not a very good painter with cans. So there you go. Little garage video showing my progress. Like I said, these octo frames here for the Octoports, or Hexports, I don't know why they're called Hexports when they have 8 sides. This plus the back pieces that I have already finished, and then the power couplers, and then the doors over here. That's pretty much most of the body. There's still a charge bay door that I have to do, and I have to work on start working on the hinges to attach these, which is another do as I say and not as I do. I did not trial fit my doors before painting them. So I am just crossing my fingers that these doors line up properly. If they don't, I will be cursing myself because I might have to sand some of the doors and then repaint, which is a pain in the neck. So don't do that. Actually attach them to your droid first, then take them apart and paint them. Another reason why is the bolts, the really small screws to attach the doors to the body. If you put ones in that are too long, they can poke through the outside of the door, which is then again gonna make you have to fill a hole, sand, and prime and start painting again. So don't do like I did, actually fit those in place first before you paint them. I'm just trying to get as much painting as I can. It's now the beginning of September, and so we'll be running out of paintable weather here soon. So there we go, a little update.